Hello everybody, welcome to Great Artist Deal. This is Ian Ellis. I'm just going to introduce you to a series of videos on studying Monet's paintings. As you can see, I've got 6 paintings here I'm just going to talk about. What you can see in the paintings is evidence of somebody who's got a really good eye for colour. As Cézanne would say, Monet was just an eye, but what a great eye, call him. Well, what do you learn though from studying Monet? There are actually 4 resources. When you look at any artist's work, you can see where they're coming from when they're working from their. Are they working for their imagination? Is it observation? Are they working from other art, other theories of art, or do they work from photography? I suppose in those days it wouldn't have been Photoshop, but possibly black and white photographs. But I doubt it. From looking at the paintings, it looks like the 4th one's not used, which is quite interesting because what can be done without using photographs? This is the thing. And what he would do, he'd go out painting. He was an plein air painter, and what he'd be quite passionate about it. It'd be kind of, in fact, so much so he tried to teach his friend Monet to paint outside, which he succeeded in doing, but it's difficult. So I suppose what we're looking at Monet, is helping everybody to learn to paint outside, which is really difficult to do. So what he was armed with to help him do that. So what I'll be covering is the theories over the next few videos. And also the palette we're looking at. The palette is quite interesting. It starts off with a kind of old master Impressionist palette kind of mix, but then he ignores some of the earth colours. Now the earth colours he's using in, say, definitely this painting, possibly this is 1869, 1870, these 3 are 1872, and this one jumps ahead to 1890. I've been looking at this, I'll be doing a bit of copy of this one, possibly this one, too much detail in there, but perhaps go for this one as well. And maybe that I can maybe squeeze this one in as well, we'll see. But understanding his theories about the best painting to look at is perhaps this one. And I don't know if you go back to the Hopper's Light video I did, I mentioned the idea of Impressionist theories, and I think Impressionist theories were developed by Monet. Each Impressionist will have their own theories, but just by looking at a painting, can we see what kind of theory that's going on? Does it fit into the theories we're looking at when we're looking at Hopper's paintings, or the idea of Impressionist light? Remember, I was talking about the idea of local colour and how local colour is affected by light. And then in this Haystacks painting, you can see the idea of grass has been changed its colour by the intense light shining from really quite high light, leaving this really quite blue, powerful shadow, and the green of the grass has been blasted by the light, and then what you get is the almost like purple blue light. Now this falls into ideas of what I talked about in Van Gogh, where you've got complementary colours in the same painting, but you find this in nature. And Monet was studying nature, so he would be looking at the light and then being influenced by it. He wouldn't just do it all outside. A lot of the time he'd take his paintings in and he'd call them, harmonise them indoors and in the studio. So we'll look at that a little bit, see what he's doing when we start looking at these paintings. But you can see it's got here almost like a purple blue and almost like a yellow light. So those two are kind of complementary colours. So you get the idea, I could say there's a secondary light caused by maybe the sky, or maybe he's got this idea that it could, because there's so much yellow light, the shadows would look more complementary. But I think it's a bit of both. You've got the kind of, you see the sky up here, it's all the sunset over here, the sky will be light, but above you won't see the sky will perhaps be this colour, and it will be shining, reflecting on the green grass, making it look much more blue. Obviously the yellow light will affect these colours and make them look a bit more purple than they are when you're actually outside. This is why it's so important to go out painting. So few people do it these days. It's really being aware of light itself. I'm constantly trying to encourage my students to go out. It's starting to lose a little popularity. And my aim is to hopefully get people going outside painting more. And Monet can help me do that, because I think he's really a master at looking at light. So that's it really. The first I'm going to focus on this painting, and I'll be looking at how I think Monet has used a colour called red ochre and mixed with yellow ochre. And quite a lot of these colours are used like kind of old master way of mixing. So we'll start off with a kind of traditional master way of working, but it's the early Impressionists, like people like Degas, and Monet was brought up in as well, started with. And then we'll move on. I'll be looking at the 1890 painting of the haystack and go through that in a bit more detail. So I look forward to seeing you again. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks again. Bye.